The courtroom felt like a pressure cooker about to blow. Whispers rippled through the gallery like a secret slipping under a locked door. For weeks, the Diddy trial had been front-page chaos, handle after headline, each more explosive than the last. But today felt different. This wasn't about legal maneuvers or a surprise witness. This was about a name so meticulously guarded, so surgically curated, that hearing it aloud in a courtroom stunned everyone. Kim Kardashian. The prosecution didn't shout it. They didn't need to. They quietly submitted a sealed document into evidence, and when the judge unsealed it and read the name attached, it was like time hit pause. Eyebrows shot up, pens froze mid-sentence. Even usually unshakable court sketch artist sat still, pencil hovering, line unfinished. And then there was Diddy. He shifted. Knit erect for weeks, he had sat like stone, untouchable, unreadable. But the moment Kim's name hit the air, something flickered. A twitch in his jaw, a hard swallow, a glance at his lawyer, who looked like the blood had drained from his face. But it wasn't just that Kim was mentioned. It was why. According to sources close to the investigation, the prosecution had uncovered a buried memory, an off-record encounter nearly 10 years ago, backstage at an award show where Diddy headlined and Kim had presented. No complaint, no statement, nothing official. Just whispers that floated through Hollywood like ghost stories, passed around by assistants, dismissed by publicists, never confirmed until now. That sealed document reportedly held a short statement from a third-party witness. Someone who worked that event. They remembered Kim leaving Diddy's VIP lounge, eyes red, phone clutched, saying just one thing: "I shouldn't have gone in." It wasn't proof, but it was a thread. And prosecutors were ready to pull it. Diddy's legal team jumped like they'd been burned. His lead attorney slammed a motion down on the judge's bench, demanding Kim's name be ruled irrelevant, prejudicial, inadmissible. They called it hearsay. They called it a stunt. They said dragging Kim into this would poison the jury. But the judge didn't blink. He reviewed the papers, slow and steady, then looked up. "If the name is on record," he said, "and the event can be reasonably corroborated, the jury deserves to know." Boom. You could feel the oxygen leave the room. Diddy leaned back, jaw clenched like iron. His attorney whispered something, but Diddy didn't look away from the judge. Not defiant anymore. Just calculating. Backstage encounters, hushed rumors, vague memories. They don't usually stand a chance in court. But this trial, it wasn't following the rules. It was a wildfire. And now it had jumped to someone the world once thought was untouchable. Kim hadn't said a word. Not yet. But the damage was already blooming. Because this wasn't just name-dropping. This was a signal. Something had happened. And now the courtroom and the world wanted to know. What did Kim see? And why didn't she speak until now? A quiet message. "Mr. Combs would like to say hello backstage." Kim read it twice. At first, no reaction. Diddy wasn't a stranger. They'd crossed paths at dozens of events. They shared mutuals. They shared history, the kind that floats in Hollywood's inner circle, where everyone knows everyone and secrets move faster than press releases. But something about the timing felt off. Still, she nodded. Just a quick hello. She was led down a hallway padded with silence, past guards, past assistants with earpieces and clipped voices. The deeper she went, the quieter it got, like stepping into the eye of a storm. Diddy's private area was draped in black curtains, cordoned off from the noise. Inside, a stylist, a DJ, one quiet security guy, and Diddy. He greeted her with a smile. Not wide, not fake, just measured. "Kim," he said, "I'm glad you came." They exchanged small talk. She complimented his set. He thanked her for presenting. But under the surface, the whole thing felt scripted, like he wasn't just hosting her, he was staging something. Kim had been in 1,000 green rooms. She could feel when a vibe shifts, and here it shifted fast. Diddy leaned in slightly. His voice dropped just above a whisper. You ever feel like the world watches you so hard, you stop knowing what's real? She hesitated. Sometimes. He smiled at that. But it wasn't the kind of smile that softens a moment. It tightened it. Then came the line. Some of us, we're protected. We build things around us. Layers, silence, control. She didn't reply. She didn't know what this was. A conversation, a confession, a test. Before she could ask, someone burst in. A staffer. Flushed, rushed. They're asking for Kim. She's needed on stage. Kim turned, relieved. But just as she stepped toward the curtain, Diddy called after her. You're smart to go now. Not everyone knows when to leave. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a compliment. It was something else. Something she couldn't name. And it followed her. Down the hall, into the flashing lights, and out the back exit. She told no one. Not her stylist, not her team, not even Kanye. What was there to say? How do you report a feeling? How do you explain a moment that never crossed a line, but left a mark? So she buried it, until now. When her name surfaced in court, it all came roaring back. The chill in the room, the tension. That sentence she'd never forgotten. You're smart to go now. Now with a photo leaked, with a third-party witness confirming her discomfort, with the world watching this trial like a car crash in slow motion, Kim had a choice: stay silent or finally admit it. That night wasn't paranoia, it was instinct. And that instinct didn't just protect her, it might protect others. It might finally drag the truth into daylight. The next morning, she woke up to a world on fire. Her name, everywhere. Kim Kardashian linked to Diddy trial. Backstage encounter resurfaces. Why didn't she speak? It didn't matter that she hadn't said a word. Her silence was already being treated as a headline. The court documents were redacted, vague. But the media didn't need detail. Just her name, and a shadow of something unsaid. Her phone buzzed like it was vibrating through her hand. Friends, brands, her legal team. Even Chris called, voice shaky, which never happened. Do you know how big this is? Kim didn't answer. She was staring at the photo, the one leaked from someone backstage, the one the prosecution had. It wasn't flattering, no filter, no sparkle. Kim mid-turn, dim hallway. Diddy behind her, just a few feet back. His body leaned forward, her arms crossed tight against her chest, eyes not on the camera, but down, away. No red carpet shine, just a raw moment frozen in time. She remembered it exactly, and still, after all these years, it made her stomach twist. Because it wasn't about what happened. It was about what almost did. Behind closed doors, her lawyers were already working. Damage control, strategy, silence. Kim, he said, you're not being accused of anything, but if they subpoena you, you'll have to choose. Cooperate quietly, or speak publicly and control the narrative. Neither option felt safe. Say nothing, and the silence would be filled for her. Say something, and the whole trial could tilt. So could her life. By noon, Diddy's legal team hit back. Hard, a crisp, calculated statement hit the press. Attempts to drag unrelated public figures into this case are reckless and defamatory. Mr. Combs has no memory of the alleged backstage encounter, and any claims to the contrary are false and driven by media hysteria. It was sharp, cold, surgical, but under the surface, something was slipping. In court, Diddy couldn't sit still. He whispered urgently to his lawyers, checked his phone again, and again. This wasn't the empire he was used to controlling. Music, business, image. This was different, because Kim wasn't just a name. She was a fortress, a symbol of control. And if even she, someone who'd built an entire empire on narrative, was losing grip on hers, what did that mean for him? The prosecution didn't chase the moment. They didn't dramatize. They simply let the photo breathe. Let the jury stare. Let them wonder why a woman known for confidence looked so visibly out of place in that dim hallway. And why Diddy, who had denied so much, was again tangled in something too quiet, too familiar, too chilling. By nightfall, social media erupted. Old footage resurfaced. Red carpet videos, backstage interactions, clips showing Kim pulling away, shifting posture, sidestepping Diddy at past events. Suddenly, it wasn't just a rumor, it was a pattern. And Kim? She hadn't said a word, but she was thinking. This wasn't a headline she could spin. This was a mirror, and in that mirror was a version of herself she had locked away. Not out of fear, but conditioning. She had learned some rooms aren't safe, some stories stay buried. But maybe the courtroom was different. Maybe this time, she wouldn't leave quietly. The next day, court was already in session when Diddy's lead attorney rose. He moved with confidence, but it felt strained, practiced. Your Honor, he began, the defense respectfully requests a motion to suppress any and all references to Miss Kimberly Kardashian. She is not a formal witness. She has not accused Mr. Combs of wrongdoing. Her name is being weaponized to manipulate public opinion and prejudice the jury. There it was, the legal attempt to slam the door shut before it could open. The judge peered over his glasses, still, silent. The prosecution rose slowly. No drama, no theatrics. Just a heavy folder placed gently on the table. Your Honor, the lead prosecutor said, this is not a media stunt. Miss Kardashian's name appeared because her experience directly reflects a behavioral pattern we are establishing. She has not alleged criminal conduct, but her interaction with the defendant reveals something the jury deserves to consider. The judge leaned back, expression unreadable. Is she planning to testify? A beat. No subpoena has been issued, the prosecutor said, but she has submitted a signed, sealed statement, and we have third-party corroboration. That changed everything. Until now, Kim's name had floated above the trial, heavy yet intangible. But a sealed statement? That meant she had spoken. Legally, officially, on record. The jury wouldn't forget that. Diddy's lawyer grew sharper, voice rising. This is trial by implication, Your Honor. Reputation assassination by association. If every woman who's ever been in the same room with my client is fair game, then we're not holding a trial. We're staging a circus. The prosecutor stepped forward, voice now firmer. Then why? Did your client go to such great lengths to keep her out of it? Silence. The thick kind. The judge tapped his gavel once. Not in anger, just to steady the room. The statement, he said slowly, will remain on record. The jury will determine its weight, the judge said. This court will not erase the presence of a verified moment simply because it's inconvenient. Diddy didn't move. He stared straight ahead, lips compressed into a thin line. One hand gripped the armrest so tightly his knuckles showed white. Behind him, his legal team looked rattled. For the first time, they weren't leading the story. They were reacting to it. Outside, chaos. Paparazzi surged the courthouse steps. Anchors scrambled to rewrite their teleprompters. Online, hashtags erupted. Number sign, Kim testified. Number sign, Diddy files, number sign. Backstage truth. But inside that courtroom, it wasn't just the jury leaning forward. It was everyone. The statement hadn't even been read yet, but its mere existence shifted the energy. Kim had remembered that night. She hadn't forgotten. She had chosen silence until now. And now that silence had shape. It had words. Later that afternoon, the next witness took the stand. The backstage photographer who had come forward anonymously days earlier. He looked nervous, clutched a manila folder like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Do you remember the night Miss Kardashian left Mr. Combs' suite? He nodded. She looked shaken, he said, voice barely above a whisper. I was told not to take photos, but I'd already taken one. I didn't delete it. What happened next? The photographer hesitated. Then, a man approached me. I don't know his name. He said, you didn't see anything. You don't want to lose your job. One click, one photo, and a threat. The room froze. Jurors shifted in their seats. One leaned forward, arms folded, locked in. Why didn't you come forward earlier? His hands trembled slightly. Because I didn't think anyone would believe me. Not until now. There it was. A thread tied between Kim's memory and a moment caught in real time. And when the court adjourned for the day, Diddy didn't get up right away. He stayed seated, silent. He didn't glance at his attorneys. Because no matter how hard they tried to keep Kim Kardashian out of that room, she was already in it, and her silence was no longer empty. It was louder than ever. The next morning, the whispers started before the courthouse doors even opened. Not from reporters, from inside, clerks, aides, junior attorneys loitering by the metal detectors, eyes glued to their phones. Something had leaked. Not the full document, just a screenshot. Kim Kardashian's sealed statement, signed, time-stamped. The lines were simple, not graphic, not explosive, but devastating in their own way. I entered Mr. Combs's backstage suite alone. I was not informed who else would be present. After several minutes of conversation, I felt deeply uncomfortable and chose to leave. I have never spoken publicly about this moment, but I remember the feeling clearly. I knew I had to go. No accusations, no specific claims, just that word, uncomfortable. And in the court of public opinion, that word hit like a detonator. By 9 a.m., "had to go" was trending worldwide. Inside the courtroom, the air was thick, suffocating. Diddy arrived 15 minutes late. A first. His suit was immaculate, but his face wasn't. The usual smooth polish had cracked. Dark circles, tense jaw, drawn cheeks. When he sat, he didn't look at the prosecution, didn't look at the judge. He looked straight at the jury, not with defiance, but like a man desperate to be seen as something other than what the world was turning him into. The judge called the room to order, and before anything else, he addressed the leak. "I am aware," he said, tone hardening, "that a sealed document has been partially released to the press. Let me be clear. This court will not tolerate further breaches of confidentiality. If this continues, I will begin holding parties in contempt." No one responded, but everyone understood. The damage had been done. The jury had seen it. The world had seen it. And now Diddy's legal team was fighting two battles, one in court, one online. The prosecution didn't push hard that day. They didn't need to. The story was already speaking for itself. The prosecution didn't dramatize. They simply confirmed the statement's authenticity and entered it into the record. No calls for Kim to testify. Not yet, because they didn't need her in the room. The leak had done what no live witness could. It wasn't about what Kim said. It was about what she remembered. And the fact that she still remembered, almost 10 years later, gave it weight. The defense tried to regain footing. They dug into technicalities, chain of custody, relevance, emotional manipulation. But the courtroom wasn't listening the same way anymore. They had seen the photo, heard from the photographer, and now they had her words. Simple, steady, real. Diddy's team knew what was coming. They scrambled for a closed-door meeting with the judge. Off the record, rumors swirled. They were preparing a preemptive motion to block a subpoena. Others whispered they were negotiating limited testimony, tightly scripted, tightly timed, tightly controlled. But it didn't matter, because control was already gone. That afternoon, court adjourned early due to a scheduling delay, and across the country in Los Angeles, a camera caught Kim. No press statement, no staged appearance. She walked out of her office building, flanked by security, and headed straight for a black SUV. But before the door closed, the camera caught something else. A single glance back. No smile, no fear, just resolve. And in that unguarded moment, the world saw everything it needed. She wasn't staying silent anymore. Not to hurt Diddy, not for attention, but because the silence had gone on too long. And when the most famous woman in the world decides to speak, the world listens. The next day, the courtroom was still, not peaceful, tight. Everyone could feel it. They knew what was coming, even if no one dared to say it. Kim Kardashian was about to speak. Not live, not yet. But her pre-recorded video statement, filmed under oath, approved by her legal team, authenticated by the court, was about to play. No edits, no cuts, just her voice, her words, her truth. The lights dimmed, the monitor flickered, and then, there she was. Kim sat in a neutral-toned room, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. This wasn't red carpet Kim. This was unfiltered Kim, deliberate, stripped down, real. I've thought about this night for a long time, she began, voice steady. I never wanted to make it more than it was, but I didn't want to lie to myself about what it meant. She paused, not for drama, but because she was remembering. I went into that room because I was told he wanted to say hi. We'd met before, briefly at events, nothing unusual. But that night, something felt different. Not right away, not on the surface, but in the way people moved, the way the room got smaller, quieter, controlled. The courtroom held its breath. Even Diddy, who had scoffed at earlier testimony, was still expressionless, frozen. He never touched me. He never said anything threatening, but he didn't have to. You know when someone isn't speaking to you, they're testing you, watching. Another pause. I remember thinking, why is there only one exit? Why do I feel like I'm being watched from every corner? A ripple of whispers moved through the gallery. The judge didn't gavel. He didn't need to. The room self-corrected. I made an excuse, Kim continued. I said I needed to call my kids, that I forgot something in my dressing room. I smiled the way women do when we're trying to leave without making a scene. I walked out, and I didn't look back. Her lips tightened. I didn't tell anyone, not my mom, not my team, not even Kanye. Because what was I going to say? That a man made me feel uncomfortable in a room full of people? That's not news, that's survival. A quiet gasp moved through the room. Felt, not heard. I'm not here to accuse, she said. I'm here to confirm. What I saw, what I felt, what I knew in my bones that night, I haven't forgotten. And now that I've been asked to remember, Kim said, I won't pretend it didn't happen. The video ended. No music, no fade to black. Just the deafening silence of a courtroom caught in reflection. The judge cleared his throat, but didn't speak. The prosecution didn't need to add a word. The defense didn't rise. For once, Diddy's lead attorney didn't object, didn't spin,